You know, I had to end this month with the one and only movie, The Batman. A movie I really like and consider the best Batman movie. But why or how? How does it manage to breathe new life into Batman after countless renditions?
Thursday, October 31st. The city streets are crowded for the holiday, even with the rain. Hidden in the chaos is the element, waiting to strike like snakes.
Well, that's what I want to discuss in this video today, because I feel like another review of this 2-year-old movie would just be boring and repetitive. So instead, why not talk about how the Batman universe stands now, and more importantly, how Batman himself manages to stay compelling, even when some people seem to be tired of the realistic take. An interesting discussion that is only really applicable to Batman and not other superhero characters. Like, how would a realistic Spider-Man movie work? The realism would be over as soon as Peter gets his powers from a radioactive spider. Meanwhile, Batman manages to work in both a fantastical and realistic setting that revolves around his character, as he is, after all, only a human wearing a batsuit to fight criminals. Looking at previous live-action iterations, we have Keaton, Clooney, Kilmer, and Affleck that sort of represent the fantastical side of Batman. That mainly being a muscular, invulnerable Batman fighting monsters, using unusual gadgets, some more extreme than others, and having a more comic-accurate Batmobile. While Bale and Pattinson represent the more realistic, grounded Batman, going up against villains from their rogues gallery that could easily exist in real life or be slightly tweaked to reality. And of course, Bale's Batman movies are great, but they're honestly just great movies, not really great Batman movies that represent the character fully. Movies that don't really use the character to its full potential. But in comparison, I think the Batman does. Not focusing on Batman's strength or Bruce Wayne's personality, but instead his journey to that point.
You know this place is never gonna change.
I have to try.
It's gonna kill you eventually, you know that.
I think it was genius to make this movie about Bruce in his early years as Batman, showing his need for growth and realization. In the beginning, he is cold, silent, a little awkward, and most importantly, wrong about his purpose as the Caped Crusader.
Fear is a tool.
He is too unaware to realize his influence, as he mainly focuses on the loss of his parents and how that affected him, instead of realizing the corruption in the city and using his Wayne identity to make a change.
Mr. Wayne, you know, you really could be doing more for this city.
Heck, we barely even see Bruce Wayne, as most of the time he is in his Batman attire. It is not only until later where Batman becomes aware of the corruption and evil in the city, the characters around him, those being Selina Kyle and the Riddler, who cites Batman as direct inspiration. Using the line we all know and love, "You and I aren't so different, you know." Which I want to mention the Riddler as well, because damn do I love the change they made to his character. Being one of the more wackier Batman villains, the Riddler is transformed in this movie to be a serial killer who leaves riddles at each crime scene to ultimately reveal his plan to flood the city. It works incredibly well, with the riddles not sounding ridiculous and more closely related to, I guess, the Zodiac Killer. This new personality also makes the Riddler more terrifying and someone you believe could actually exist, having his IQ match that of Bruce's. His ultimate reasoning being to expose the corruption that caused the city to decay. His ideas come from his childhood as an orphan having to experience the inequality, while Bruce remains privileged. All incredibly well written and added upon in the comic book miniseries The Riddler Year One, which was written by Paul Dano, which I obviously read and really enjoyed, especially the art that really amplifies the shithole that Gotham is. The series just follows the Riddler as he becomes the Riddler, with him becoming more invested in the politics of Gotham, looking up to Batman as someone to stand up to make a change, and the ever-so corruption around him, and of course the hints at his riddle-making personality. And the inclusion of the Riddler in this story works so well that it even enhances Batman himself. With a villain like this, we're gonna need a true detective, a side of Batman that this movie explores brilliantly, and it's one of my favorite aspects of the character that the film brings to light. In previous Batman adaptations, what I feel was really lacking was a focus on Bruce's intellect and detective skills. Sure, other movies have showcased his intelligence, but they barely touched on his role as a detective. And I mean, come on, he is nicknamed the world's greatest detective after all. Why not show that? But luckily, we finally got it in this film. And you can think that to the realistic depiction, as it allows for another side of Batman to be explored. In this case, we get to see Batman solving riddles and working to uncover the Riddler's plan, tasks that require more than just brute force. Being relatively new to the role, he doesn't quite solve the full puzzle in time, but it's still exciting to watch him do his best and grow into this side of Batman. Ultimately, what this realistic depiction achieves is an enhancement of all his traits, teaching this young Batman an essential lesson: to be a symbol of hope rather than just vengeance. It's about fighting crime and corruption not only as Batman, but also as Bruce, and maybe learning to test that wingsuit out before using it again. Oh wait, hold on. The video's not done yet. We were just talking about Batman. But what about the Penguin and Falcone family? So yeah, we gotta mention them real quick. So the Penguin series is more than halfway through, and it introduces to more interesting characters that build up this realistic universe. Starting with the Penguin, another genius change to pretty much make him Tony Soprano. It really fits that mob boss aesthetic Oz is going for. But in all seriousness, that inclusion of Penguin is great, showing as he is also a part of the corruption in Gotham, working previously as a driver for Sophia Falcone and doing everything possible in his power to be at the top. It's just incredible, and I don't want to say anything more since I'll just wait for the series to end to see where his character goes. But alongside the Penguin is also Victor, another incredible character, showing that the Riddler wasn't right like his twisted mind thought he was. The flooding of Gotham did not expose the corrupt, instead only hurt the poor, like Victor, who lost his family in the flood and is now being forced to work with the Penguin to attain anything he has ever wanted, to make his family proud of him. Now, moving on to who I think I would say is my favorite character of this series, a character I knew nothing about but still found incredible to expand this universe Gotham, Sophia Falcone, or Gigante. I'm still getting used to that. The daughter of the incredibly evil and corrupt Carmine Falcone that we saw in Batman as he tried to strangle Selina Kyle. Her character became super interesting as her story started to unravel, showing what led to her current personality. At first you're like, oh, she's evil because her dad's evil, but then you start to realize the corruption she herself has faced from people like her own father and the twisted cops of Gotham. We learned that Sophia has recently been released from Arkham Asylum following her father's death, which should already make you worried about her since Arkham is literally the worst place you can send a criminal. The officers do not care what happens to you. The source of Sophia's anger towards Oz and her father, as well as the loss of her brother, stems from her discovery of his father's history of violence against women. As we see in episode 4, Sophia was once a compassionate, charitable person dedicated to helping victims of abuse in Gotham. But her life took a dark turn when she began to uncover the truth about her father, starting with the suspicious circumstances of her mother's apparent suicide. Carmine, alerted by the Penguin, doesn't take kindly to her investigation. Using his power, he frames Sophia for the murders of innocent women, resulting in her wrongful imprisonment in Arkham. He manages to get the entire Carmine family to agree and make up statements about her suffering with a mental illness, all except her brother, who sticks by Sophia the entire time, trying to get her through her time in Arkham, as she's refused trial and any chance of escape from the corrupt cops, doctors, and government officials working with Carmine. Being in Arkham, of course, causes her mental health to decline as she has to deal with injustice and shock therapy, forced to question her own innocence. All of this culminates in her current personality, especially after her brother is killed by Oz, deepening her sense of betrayal by her entire family. This trauma ultimately drives her to kill her remaining family members, taking on the name Sofia Gigante, after her own mother. This characterization is fantastic as it highlights Arkham's role in this world, not as a place of rehabilitation, but as an utterly ineffective institution that ultimately creates more villains than it reforms. Which I guess is pretty comic accurate, because these crazy ass villains are always escaping and learning nothing new. It also makes Sophia sympathetic, showing her another perspective of the innocent facing injustice in Gotham. Truly a remarkable character, and I think one of my favorites. Happy to keep watching where she goes, and hopefully she appears again in other Batman stories. So, looking back, a realistic Batman isn't so far off from his comic counterpart, and creatively brings in more of his rogues gallery and unfamiliar characters to life. While I get many prefer a fantastical version, I guess we can all say Arkham Knight Batman is a good in-between, mixing these both versions to make, in my opinion, the definitive Batman. Anyways, this is my video in defense of a realistic Batman using the 2022 movie that I really enjoyed. Obviously, I'd take a fantastical Batman adaptation any day over a realistic one, but I think the Batman and this universe pulls off the grounded approach incredibly well. Maybe even as well as it could possibly be done. Hello there! If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot and shows you appreciate the content. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm really proud of this one and hope to keep making more quality content like this. But yeah, that's all for today. Hope to see you next times in November. Let's go. And how could I forget the GOAT, Officer Martinez, of course, the best character in the Batman universe. You know, since he is one of the best cops in Gotham, he should be at least named once in this video, am I right?